Hey everybody, this is Day Trader Rockstar, and I'm back from vacation. It is time for the good old HPS watch list and market radar. We're going to start off with the first part of the video, the market radar section here, and back from the great land of Florida. I should say it was 100 degrees. It was very hot, but glad to be back here. I did do an updated, kind of an updated post midweek this week talking about the odds of this market here breaking out to all-time highs, and for the last few months we've been just nailing this market in any which way it wants to go. We get the signals, we got everything here working like a charm. Right now market's here breaking out to all-time highs today, and like I continue to talk about each and every day on the market, it's going to be hard to call a top in this market. I would not advise trying to find one. For me, I feel like any significant pullback is going to come with some kind of event, and at that point, we're probably only going to see, that point we could probably see an 8% or more pullback. But before that happens, it's just, it's going to be very hard to trigger that, and that's a great thing. The important thing is, what I've been stressing over the last month and a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, basically the whole last 2 years here, this market has entered a new phase. And if you go back to that midweek post, and I'll try to add that post to this video underneath in the description, we just go talking about some of the things that are helping this market here push higher. And here at Day Trading Radio, the object is to make money off of this. You have to identify the trend, understand why the market's moving. You have to have confidence in knowing why you think the market's moving, and make your trades based off your observations and your trades. Well, I love to what I do. I have a certain technique that I use. I pass it on to the members, and it's called the HPS methodology. And that HPS methodology has been just killing it lately. And we're just going to do a little fast review here, because there was one that did trigger the stop side. But most of these, and each week when we do the HPS watch list, that goes out to members. This goes out. What it is that we base our methodology, our setups, our high probability setups. We chart them out. We show you the triggers, and those triggers, when they get triggered, they'll send you a generated alert. You'll get the alert on your dashboard. You'll get an alert in the email. You can also get an alert on text too if you want it. Each one of these setups are posted here, and as you can see, this is the HPS going back as far as you can go back pretty far on this. There's actually click here and you get all the setups archived, all the setups. So our latest setup, last few setups here has been great, but there is one here, PSA, that did trigger to the downside and hit at stop. And remember, the one thing we want to, important factor of any type of trade, if you hold your stock into earnings, you have the tendency to, there's a better probability of volatility to happen, could take you out of the trade. This is an HPS setup with a buy zone, which had a channel breakout and an oversold stochastic here. This was a perfect setup, actually, a really nice setup, and it made sense to go here. What happened was the earnings came out and they dropped because of earnings right here. So. But what just happened here is we've come down to this underlying trend line. Now, on the HPS watch list that I posted this one on a couple of weeks ago, we actually started to get a little rotation up, and then it dropped into earnings. But where did we come down? We came down to this dotted blue line, which I marked down here as a secondary area of entry. If this area did not push higher and we ended up pulling back, I'd pay attention to this zone right now. And that zone is we're right on it right now. It was the 229 to 230 zone. Now we closed here 232, up 2 points off of that zone. Now that this trade is already triggered. It's triggered its stop, and there's not much more to say on that. But I am going to reset it up here with this underlying trend line, which is always the great setup. An HPS setup is an underlying trend line, recognizable pattern. This is a nice channel. There's a 1-2 pivots. We could probably use this third pivot up here along with this other one to make a nice parallel channel. We're in the lower part of that channel. This looks like a great setup. So this will actually be on the watch list this week, and I'll get that chart on the second part of the video, right in this zone. But to go back and just kind of show you some of these, and what's really fascinating is actually an active one right now that I'm holding quite a few calls and shares, and as you can see, this is typical of that lower trend line, which we love to take. I love to identify that lower trend line. So the HPS setup all the way. The combination here, if you're not familiar with the setup and how the setups work, there's multiple indicators we use, five of them. If 3 of the 5 indicators are lining up all together, that qualifies it for an HPS signal. Now, it could be a buy signal or a sell signal. It just depends on which way the signals are showing up. We're not going to talk about that in the video. All that can be found at Day Trading Radio or in the videos at Day Trader Rockstar on YouTube. But the important part here is this is a HPS setup where we have 1, 2, 3, 4 pivots, making a perfect channel. And then we have the price coming down to a nice level. And we actually have a pretty decent candle. We wouldn't call this an exact piercing pattern, but it's a decent enough candle where we take out the lows, close near the highs, and we're oversold there. So this is an active trade right now, and this is one of the few ones that are active. And you can actually see this starting to move up back into the channel now. The prediction here is to push this through this channel, and just to get the rotation back up all the way. And that'll be updated a little bit later. But this is an active HPS setup that's going on right now. Yeah, we're currently in that one. But most of the HPS setups have triggered and hit the targets. Green represents the trigger has been hit. Gold or yellow represents the target has been hit, and red represents the stop has been hit before the target has been hit. So if it's green and nothing else, it's still active. If it's green and anything else, it means that either the stop was hit or the target was hit first. So I want to go through these HPS. These are good examples of what we look for and what you're going to see on this week's watch list. This week's watch list is coming up, and this is so important because, hopefully just by looking at these setups, you're going to understand why it's so important to be in this market, to wait for those setups and just have them delivered to you. I mean, it's not that hard. You don't have to be like I am, watching the markets 24/7. You have to understand there's quality names that you need to be in. I'm not going to, and again, I don't want to go into a big rant about where the markets are going from here. But if if you're a logical investor and understand how markets are run, how we're tracking them, if the market is up 119 points today, what is that based off? Why is that? What's that 119 points mean? Is that the Dow? Is that the Nasdaq? Is that the Russell? Is the S&P? Each one of those indexes have a certain amount of stocks in them. Let's go with the Dow 30, which is the most famous of the indexes, the Dow Industrial Average. It's made up of only 30 stocks. Say one of those stocks is not performing. Well, you know what? They could take that out and put another stock that's in performing. All right? And then all of a sudden you get a stock like Apple being put into, or any stock. You have a great Philip Morris, Johnson & Johnson. You get these stocks that they rotate into an index because they're performing well. Funds... people buy the stock, you hold it, the price goes up. These are quality names, and over time that price is going to go up. It's just, it's a natural occurrence. Just like it's more easier to look at Apple and Google and Facebook and know the direction of things. It's not like Apple is going to come right back down to $12. No reason. Right now at this point, we've crossed that. We've passed that tipping point. It's not 1980s anymore. It's not 90s. It's not that 2000. It's not 2002. It's not 2008. We've kind of gotten to a point where things are so automated now, and we've led the way here. We've actually led the way. We've gone through our financial crisis. We've gone through our housing bubble. We've actually gone through so many things that our Fed or our financial markets and the Federal Reserve have placed a blueprint out there, saying, basically saying we'll do whatever it's possible to inject liquidity to stabilize this market. Basically QE. And you know what? We've gotten past that. We're at a point where we're actually raising rates. And that's a big thing. Our jobs report out today. Another back-to-back month of jobs being up over 100,000 more than expected. That's huge. Markets at all-time highs. These mega corporations here making money hand over foot. You know, the market pretty much being steered higher. And that's what you have to take advantage of. You can't be out there being a pessimist and waiting for the next worst thing to happen, or else you're going to be left behind. When I take a look at the S&P, we look at that weekly time frame, our last really big pullback was in 2008, 2009. Other than this one where we had the recent Brexit turmoil, and this wasn't really a big pullback, but it is a pullback, you know. And if we go out to the monthly, you will see that the this pullback was, you know, is understandable. We had the tech bubble, we had the financial situation that happened, and then we have the Brexit, the European situation. You can see each one of these led to higher numbers. This is back here, nice gradual way, but the markets have now developed. I'm not even showing this chart, and I apologize. That's the thing here. Here we go, back to the monthly. Here's the first pullback to the tech bubble, financial crisis, Brexit. And you can see the pullbacks are getting shorter, and the rotation and the steepness of the trend is getting steeper. You know, there are people out there saying, well, we need to get back to 1,000 before we can move higher. There's larger trend lines. That doesn't, you know what? It's not going to happen. You know, it's just, you know, the math is not there. I don't see it happening. It's not like everyone's loaded up with stocks and just take days to unwind things. Right now, the way things are working, we have these ETFs, index funds. People buy those. That's what you buy for retirement. If you want to get out of the market, you just sell those, and boom, the recovery, or actually the retracement, the pullback, lasts a couple days, and the market's ready to move back up. So, you know, I'm not looking for a big, you know, selling. There's nothing out there that's really forecasting the market to, you know, pull back a lot. And you just have to take it for what it is, and you can't miss out on it. I can't talk about it much more other than to show you the great setups that you have to take when you have the opportunity. So let's just go back over here. I'm actually kind of winded from we're talking all day. I'm on the air from 8 o'clock today, and it's coming up on 8 o'clock tonight. It's 12 hours of talking. Palo Alto Networks here. All right, so basically, again, just a kind of review of some of the setups that you're going to be seeing. And again, if you look at what you get with the HPS, you'll get the buy trigger. In this case, it's a buy trigger. Sometimes you'll see a buy zone, which we look for a pullback, or a buy trigger. A buy trigger means it doesn't activate until it actually pops above that line. And once it pops above that line, then the stop becomes active and the profit becomes active. Whatever one gets hit first triggers it, and you get sent out an email. But the important thing is our triggers. Now this was a great little setup because, again, you have that recognizable top trend line. You have a bottom trend line, which we failed and then regained. And that's an important fact, and we trade a lot using this technique. And we're actually I'm going to show you a couple of stocks today on this week's watch list that represent the same thing. And then you click on it, and you can actually see we just chopped around here, but eventually then popped through that buy trigger. Almost got to it. It did chop around, finally got through it. And this is where we are right now. But basically, you know, we have a couple things going for us. At the time when we're interested in this stock, we have the momentum starting to shift. We have that recognizable pattern. Everything, we have an HPS quality setup, quality name. And this is where we are. And this could probably continue to move higher. I'm not about that right now. I'm just showing you what works and what we've been trading. Same thing as Biogen, BIIB. You know, people could look at this and they can't figure out which way is up, which way is down. But you can see this is a quality name, you know, in a bigger channel. In this case, this was an interesting trade for me because it was a little bit more interesting. I like the Biogen sell-off here. We got in on this one. It really just rocketed it up. I mean, there's not much to show on that other than you get the alerts on that. But I want to show you some better ones. KSU, Railroad. You'll see some kind of similar things here. Again, you have that trend line. Trend lines are very important. In this case, that trend line really holds itself as we come back to it, and we bounce off of it once, and we come back to it again, bounce off it twice, and then we form this channel. So when we form a channel like that, this is the important part. Oops, let me fix this. form that channel like that. We also look for a divergence that tells us that we're going to break out, and actually there was a divergence down here. I can't throw a line in here because this is a static chart right now. I have to click on it. But this low and this higher low versus this low and this lower low gave us that divergence. Whenever we have a divergence inside of a channel, there's a 90+% chance of that channel breaking out to the upside, in this case, of a buy and a buy signal. So that's a very important trade setup for me, and we actually have one of those coming up for you. And you could actually see the choppiness, and we pop through that trend line, we pop up, and here we continue to move up. But a perfect channel divergence play right there. PKG. You're basically going to see the same thing. So if you get something on the HPS watch list, you get it for a reason. Here you have that divergence. You can see that low and that higher low, the low and the lower low inside that channel. Once we see that, we take that position. We look for a breakout of the channel. Boom. Look where that is today. So all these here, it's just a matter of waiting for them to set up, giving us that right signal. Here was a divergence back here. I don't even mark it off here, but right back here, you can see that higher low, that lower low. When you get these setups with us, I mean, that is money to be made, There's money to be made. Sometimes they won't happen every day. But that's what's great about even being, paying attention to day trading radio on the HPS, because that's fine. We're not looking for that trade. We're looking for that quality name. Hey, say Apple. I want to be alerted to when Apple gives me a divergence. And Apple just recently did give us a divergence. I'll show you that in a second also. So, it's just a matter of just waiting for the setups, getting it sent to you, making your decision. JBHT. The list goes on and on. Everything's going to look the same to you. It's not going to be much different. Here's your channel. Here's your divergence. And there's your fast pop up to the profit zone. And now we've actually pulled back to that buy zone. Once again, it triggered and then pushed back up, and it's chopping around. But these are short term. The HPS is perfect for that swing trader. Would love to have HPS work between 3 and 7 days. Let's not get carried away. We don't want to hold on to it too long, but enough that you don't have to be watching it day by day. We want to get that set up, give it time to do its shuffle, and then get that momentum and give it time to follow through on that momentum. I don't just want to get on that first pop, or that first shake. It's going to play out. Most likely it will play out. And, the list goes, here's that Apple divergence. This is a great setup we had in. We recently took off, and just making some comments this morning. I don't think Apple comes back underneath 102. I think 107 or 106 and 105 was a gift. It was absolutely a gift. Here was our buy signal. Here was our divergence. A divergence in Apple is friggin' finding a leprechaun at the end of the rainbow. It's the best setup out there. This was it right here. This lower low and that higher low. This lower low and that higher low. This lower low and that higher low. All three divergences give you a rock star performance. At this point, yeah, it's going to go higher, but it's not going to qualify for this setup. Remember, anything you see on this setup is going to be ready for you to rock with and make some money. This is a little bit out of reach right now. If you're still holding it, I would continue to hold it. I would wait for the next pullback, of course, probably to get on the list again, but that's about it. Fantastic stuff there. Apple, again, EAT, Brinker, that leads me, and we could go down the line. I'm not going to show you all of them. You can you access that on your dashboard. When you go to Day Trading Radio, and here's your dashboard. I have the show off right now. But this is where the chart normally goes. Right up here is your HBS watch list right here. You click on that, and it goes right to that watch list. So just in case you're not familiar. And if you're not a member, well, you should check it out real fast. Here we have the Rambot. Sometimes you hear about the Rambot. That's a divergence alert system. It tells you 5-minute, 1-minute short-term scalpers. Then we have our trade alerts over here, what we're getting into, what we're getting out of. Everything here gets posted right here. All my trades. So we're going to go back over here and kind of, if you've been listening to the show today, you know my best bet is. I will give you my best bet going into next week, and then I'm going to get started on the members watch list. We have about, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 plus HPS setups going on this next week's watch list. 7 plus. It's pretty nice. I already started making money today with the Deutsche Bank, with the some other ones. But our big one, the one I'm loving right now is Darden Restaurants, DRI. And again, I talk a lot about this, how the world is shaping up and how time is, it seems to be speeding up. People don't have time to do things anymore. And I'm not saying everyone's like this. It's just from my observation and stuff, and being that that type of person that observes a lot of things in the world, to kind of gauge it and look at opportunities to make money off of it. If you're outside and you go to fast food, and not these are fast food, these are mid-range, not gourmet restaurants, but not fast food, but, your Darden restaurants, your Chili's, your Red Lobsters, between Darden restaurants and EAT, Brinker, and there's other ones too. We have Yum Brands, Kentucky Fried Chicken, more fast food, McDonald's and stuff. How do you not think that these are not going higher? And people are going to stop, all of a sudden start eating inside? They find some time to eat around the dinner table. Maybe you are, but I think a lot of people are not. And these are going to continue to make money. So Darden Restaurants here is strictly an HPS setup. It's such a great one. There's your channel. There's your divergence. We loaded the boat today. We're looking for a breakout of the channel. We'll take profits, money made. Very easy trade. So that's going into next week here. Best bet. All right. It's the perfect specimen right there. It's beautiful. Can't wait till Monday. It is Friday, and I'm doing the watch list. I want to leave it off at that. If I look at the market radar, well, there's not much else to say that we have a very strong market. I'm having a hard time, calling out any shorts in this market. I don't want to do that. Well, when that time does come, I have no problem calling those shorts. But right now, we got some great stocks setting up. Also next week, we concentrate on the futures more, because these same setups that we find here, we find on the futures for those future scalpers. Not the future scalpers are going to scalp in the future, but people who are trading the futures, especially the S&P futures, the ES Mini. We'll use these same techniques, but on a 1 minute, 5 minute, 3 minute chart, and identify these great setups. But based on the shorter time frame, we're able to trade them using the futures. So we'll be concentrating on that. And if you want to also trade along with us, definitely download the Apex Futures platform. That's Apex Futures, where we are using that platform on the air. You can follow along with the DOM, see some of the things, and you get a nice little simulator to test it out. So I'll put the link in the description also, so you can just get a download link and practice your trading with that. All right, so that's it for me. I'm back. I think this is a very important video. I think you just have to wait, patience, discipline. It's an easy formula. You just have to let the market come to you, and not think that you're going to make money every single day. But based on our time frames, we'll making money most of the days, and we just have to wait for that. So I'll see you in the markets on Monday. It's Day Trader Rockstar signing off.